Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. In this video today we have a Darkheart Thicket on a 20 plus that we end up timing it. This is a really interesting key because I definitely do some mistakes or things that I could have done better or be more careful of, and some tips and tricks for you, but we actually do end up like going through it and it ends overall pretty well. First and foremost though, I kind of want to like give you a little tip out here. Like the first key to success for your key starts right here in selecting a group. Now it's no secret that like if you want to push IO and score, it's better to push your own key because you are in control of who you let in to that key and into your group. And what is like, so the question is like, who do you want, right? Like what is important to get? And I'm sure most people would just say, well, I don't know if most people, I'm sure some people would say, well, you just pick out whatever is meta, right? Like whoever just does the most damage, whatever class that might be, then you just take that. And while that is a strategy, I don't think that's necessary for at least for a 20, maybe for like a 28 or 30 if you're doing that. But for these for high keys and like around this area, what you need is basically what I'm going for is a Bloodlust, a Battle Res, and then classes that benefit each other. And by that I mean, multiple classes have different buffs that they give out for the group. For example, with the Demon Hunter, right? I give out so people do more magical damage. That's why it would make sense for me then to pick out classes that does magical damage, right? Like that's gonna be highly beneficial to the group. So a mage, and I end up picking up the evoker here, the augmentation, because the augmentation is just absolutely busted still. Not really from a damage point of view. You can actually, I think it's, if you want pure maximum damage, I think it's better just to pick a 30 DPS, specifically, take a Havoc Demon Hunter with you, and you will be absolutely fine. But the reason why I'm taking the augmentation evoker is simply just for the defensive value, which evoker is still, augmentation is still absolutely broken in. It's purely that damage that got nerfed, and I mean of course that defensive capability as well, but not so much that it's still not very well or very worth like to take an augmentation evoker. So we end up with the Mage for the Bloodlust, well, I guess the Evoker could also Bloodlust, the Druid for the Battle Res, and then Holy Priest, which gave us Stamina buff. So all around, I really like heavily defensive and magical build up right here, group build up, which like I think has great synergy, and not like you don't need specific classes to be in meta, or like it helps of course, but yeah, this is the group that I decided to go in, and very first here, right here, I tend to just go absolutely ham. Big pull with big Bloodlust. The thing that I could do differently is you see those two casters right there that I interrupted. That is actually a patrol. Honestly, I would highly recommend it if you can to not take them with you into this pull. This is already with the bear right here. It is extremely heavy damage wise pull. Having those two casters, you need to make sure you have like interrupted them, because that extra damage with their just going off is really gonna hurt the group, and we actually do end up having a few people dying here. So looking back at this, I'm just going into future Darkheart Thicket runs. Definitely I want to be more careful of this patrol, because there's not really any reason to take them now when you can just pull them into the next pack. Because the reason why you can definitely, it might be more beneficial to take them into this pack is because this pack, even though I did drop low in HP right there, it's actually not that dangerous. It will mean that you have free casters that you need to be aware of, so you need to make sure that you do have some kind of kick for that. But I believe that most classes can deal with it in a practical manner. The thing you really need to watch out for is these I don't even know what they're called, the Griffins. They do this like frontal where they just charge at you and they will stun you. As a tank, it's never a good idea to get stunned, because then you can't parry it and you can't block anything. So that is the only thing dangerous. But if you don't really chain pull these into anything other than the casters, there's not really anything to really hammer home on your like stun duration. So honestly, I would prefer to take the patrol into that pack. Next up here is, this skip is definitely easier for the Demon Hunter, but everyone can do it, and it is so beneficial because this dungeon has an insane amount of count for some reason. Just pressing W and going straight will like give you 120% or something like that. It's really crazy. So you can skip a lot of packs. And the next one here, the two bears, is something that you definitely want to skip if you can. I was checking out, I forgot to ask, and this is again another point. Please communicate with your team. In the beginning of the poll, I also asked, for Bloodlust, making sure that, make sure that you tell the casters and the people like what you want and when you want it. And here I forgot to ask the mage if he could take, mass invis. So we end up not having it. So making like we have to pull the two bears, which you can absolutely just skip. And as you're gonna see here, I would really recommend it because these bears, not only do they do a lot of damage with their, AoE roar thing that keeps on buffing, so it keeps on going more and more damage the longer the fight is. They also have a lot of this like stuff on the ground here that just keeps spreading with these ads walking around, meaning that your placement can be very limited, and we actually do end up butt pulling these two other casters, which I think we lose a few DPSs on, but we do actually manage to like get through it, which is great. But this is definitely something that could wipe you in a group. So yeah, that bear pull and the body pulling of like the two ads definitely makes us lose a couple of seconds simply just because we almost had a party wipe. And also now we have to wait for people to get here to run all the way back, which yeah, that's definitely like, the big issue here, right? You're definitely losing a lot of seconds here. We actually end up, not to spoil it or anything, but we could have maybe have two-timed this. And looking back at it, this is definitely one of those pulls where I could maybe have been a little bit more careful with the bears, but also just, we are playing free ranges, which have a tendency to stay a little bit more spread out than melee necessarily would. So these ads that's following you around will also just spread more for that reason. Now going into the first boss here, from a tank perspective, what is super important is this tank buster. This is actually probably the more dangerous part for the tank if he's not doing it correctly. And basically what it is, you will take the initial hit when he knocks you back. You need a defensive up for that, but then also you need to make sure that you dodge whenever he charges into you. You just want to start strafing as soon as you land. It's gonna take a few seconds before, or not a few seconds, but just it's gonna take a second before he actually starts charging. So make sure you just don't stop moving and you will be fine. In the beginning, I thought that I couldn't dodge this. I thought it was just like lying to me because I would just immediately Infernal Strike somewhere else, and then he would just, because I immediately did it instantly, he just shifted to the sides a little bit and ran into me, and it will almost kill you. Like, it will definitely ruin you. The other thing is that he jumps around putting a dot on different players, which is, a healer job, but also just from a tank perspective, you just need to know that like people are taking damage in this fight. And then of course he drops the ads, which is gonna be the thing that's gonna put a timer or a DPS check on this boss, because you need to kill him before you fill the entire room. But since this is fortified, this boss goes down relatively easy. Now this next area here is actually something that I've been working a lot on, figuring out like what makes the more sense. So there's a lot of different like mechanics, but also just different like mobs here that like, you know, interact with each other. So what is like really dangerous is these dryads right here, the druid ladies, just throws spears at random people, and this will do a lot of damage if you just chain pull a lot of stuff together. Also, they will like jump away from like you, so you need to kind of like follow around if you don't want them just to completely, you know, just have free damage on your party. Now the flower boys there, you see that they, you know, will put stuff, swirlies on the ground and just like hit you as a tank. But what's more important is, you know, these keepers, the big druid boys, they will just heal every blade life, meaning that you can't kill these flowers until you kill the keepers. So you see right here, you know, I chain pull into the patrol, meaning that we now have 2 dryads at the range with a keeper and a lot of those flower boys. My priority list here is simply just I want the dryads dead first, because the flowers actually just put down swirlies, and I believe it's like most of the damage here besides the dryads here is just dodgeable. Meaning, you know, my priority list is simply just get the range first, then the keepers, and then finish off the flowers before you go into the next pull with the keepers. And here I do a really bad play. So I really want this patrol, because this patrol just goes back and forth, and I'm like, oh, it's here. Like, you know, I can just group everything up and just, you know, we can just do really big damage and everything will be fine. I didn't really, you know, it first now that occurred to me that, oh, like a lot of these mushrooms and a lot of this stuff is gonna spawn on the ground, and my DPSers and my healer and myself included have nowhere to go. Like, this is, look at how crowded this is. And we're actually gonna have a bunch of people dying from this, which is 100% my fault. This would have been so much faster and so much cleaner if I had just let that patrol go and just had like focus on the pack alone. This is one of those situations where you need to be very mindful of not really what you pull, but specifically where you pull them, and like how big a chance like your DPSers have to just, you know, stay alive. And in this right here, I definitely screwed up for my entire group. No one was, you know, blaming me or like mad at me or whatever. I even called it out myself. I was like, hey, my bad, that was a really bad pull. I shouldn't have like done that. So there's nothing wrong with it. It's just all about, you know, acknowledging that, yeah, this is something I could have done a lot better. But we managed to get through with a few more deaths, which, yeah, that's unfortunately. Going down this place, you really need to make sure that your kicks are on point. And you're gonna see me accidentally body pull more. I should have pulled these 3 guys further back. 3 is kind of okay, so, you know, with your silent sigils and like all your CC, you will run out of them before you can kill these ads, because on photo fight they do actually have quite a bit of health. And getting these 2 extras in there is not really beneficial, because now they're kind of like, the targets are like kind of in between our different CC circles, meaning that their casts are just completely screwed, like time-wise, they're like completely screwed. Luckily, like, you know, we have absolutely like pumpers and a healer dies there, but we do actually end up like clearing it without minimal death. But you know, our healer does get feared into a spiteful, which is just like, yeah, bad luck. It's not really bad luck because, you know, I should have pulled them further back so these two wouldn't be pulled, giving us just a slight chance to get some of our CCs back before we pull on further. But it is what it is, and we actually do end up clearing it. We do have, as I said before, we do actually have some really good pumpers, so that's great. Now, since we bloodlust the first pull, we have bloodlust up again, and I just throw it here on the tree boss. And I actually kind of also did this on Tyrannical, to be honest, because the first boss could be potential. He again, it is a DPS check because you need to make sure that you kill him before you fill out the entire room with stuff like on the ground. But I feel like if you are have decent DPSs with you, you will hit that checkmark. It's more if you have undergeared people, you kind of have to use bloodlust on that boss on Tyrannical. I would still use it on the big pull in the beginning, and then on Tyrannical you can go even bigger, take the patrol with you, you know. But we do end up bloodlusting this boss, which I think is really worth it, because then we also have bloodlust up for the last boss. This guy does have a relatively nasty tank buster on you, which is the breath, which does a big hit on you, and then also gives you a little bit of a debuff going. As well as also the grabbing he does, where he just grabs the tank and throws him at another player. That also hurts a lot. Definitely much less on fortified, but yeah, definitely as a tank, be aware of this boss. He does actually hurt. He is again one of the bosses that actually does something to the tank. And I'm sure everyone here is aware of, like, you know, don't touch the axe. That's because if you touch the axe, dragons will spawn. But for people who don't know the rest of it here, these blobs, these little slime things right here, they will basically just cause a lot of damage when they die. They basically just explode. You can see there on the timer there on the side. And people go down to half health. You can, as a tank, you can chain pull, but you just need to be aware that those packs can, if you chain pull 2 slimes, I don't know if you will want to do that, but if you want to do that, you need to make sure that the one pack of the slime just dies a little bit before the other pack, just so the healer has time to heal it up, so that not all the damage just falls into one go. And then there's this big man right here. So yeah, he has a few dodge mechanics, but more importantly, when he dies, he will spawn like 4 lesser guys. I believe it's 4, maybe 5, right here. And what you want to do is make sure that they don't get their cast off, because if they do, they will transform into one of those big guys. Meaning that, you know, you can have 4 really big guys going at you, which is you definitely don't want to. Usually 2 sigils of a silence will be fine here. Do need to make sure, you know, that they actually do have quite a bit of health, especially when they're 20 here, so 1 might not be enough, but yeah, else it's just the same. I would honestly just go a little bit slower here. This is definitely, I don't think this is the place where you want to risk it, because I think it could go wrong relatively fast if you are not like careful. Oh, and of course, even though the dragons don't really do that much damage to you, you need to be kind of mindful. I really like have quick reaction here if someone does pull it. To make sure that you get aggro as fast as you can, because they will just start, you know, hitting the target who ran into the axe. And there is, you know, with the slime and the explosions there, that could be lethal if you have dragons going off on a guy. So make sure that you are, you know, aware of what's going on, that you always have an eye on your team here, and just take it a little bit slower. You'll be absolutely fine. Now the dragon boss is, you know, there's the wind that you need to, you know, not walk into axe, but more importantly, he has this breath right here, which does a lot of damage, but it's completely avoidable. So you just face the boss away from the party, and then you just move to the side. Else he does a roar that does AoE damage, and he does this thing where like pools of rocks or like decay will like, you know, fall down on the ground. It will stay there for the duration of the fight, so there is a little bit of like, you know, making sure that you have enough ground on like to like fight the boss around, and that's like up for the tank to like deal with that. Make sure that you move the boss around so your DPSs have, you know, places to be. Again, we are playing as 3 ranges, which is really beneficial on this boss, because that makes the movement a lot easier for me to deal with. I don't have to move as much. If I'm playing with more melees, then that's really where like some of the issues come in, where I need to be very aware of like where I can go with this boss. Now, what I like to do here, which is kind of crazy, but you'll see how great our CC rotation is here, because I will actually go do a double pack here with my 2 Sigil of Silence, getting them all grouped up, using my Sigil of Misery, but you also see everyone else dumping their stuff in, but actually beneficially waiting for everyone to be done with theirs, so they don't like overlap CC. A little bit something happens, but you know, that's what like how it is sometimes. There is a lot of casters. I would definitely not recommend doing this pull if you can't CC them, making sure that like most of these casts don't go off. If you are playing something like, I don't even know, a warrior, or maybe, basically if you just are not playing a paladin or a demon hunter, I don't think I would do this pull. But since I am playing, it's one of those things, again, this is why I wanted to play demon hunter, because that is amazing that I can do this pull. Now, I actually do end up dying here, just to highlight you that these bats are no joke. You definitely need mitigation up for this, definitely a bigger mitigation if you can. Now, I do that, you know, big pull before, meaning that I don't have meta up, so I actually, what I end up having here is that, you know, I see that the packs are almost dying. I'm like, I don't need this defensive mitigation, but the debuff, the poison on me, just absolutely annihilates me. And you can see here, I'm gonna go into recap. It did like 200,000 damage in like a second or something like that, which is shreds your tank if you're not like aware of it. So definitely don't chain pull anything with the pads, because they will annihilate the tank. And then someone brought up here, you know, hey, do we have Invis? And, you know, people don't, so we have to pull it. But this is, again, one of those chances, if you do end up pulling the bears, you can, like, skip this pack probably. And that could be beneficial. I honestly, again, with my sigils, making sure that I can, like, silence these casters, I don't really see the big problem with this pack. There is a bat that puts that, you know, the poison on you again. You need to be mindful of that, so you definitely need to make sure that you have mitigation up for this, or this pull would not be fun. And don't be afraid to just throw all the mitigation you have on this pull, because you don't really need it for the boss. This boss there is no tank mechanic. You just need to make sure that people, if you know, there are the circle where you have to stand with the person, and then there's the one that people get where they need to stand away from the party. So as a tank, you just need to make sure that you are available for be able to like for people just to like stand close to you and you don't run away from the circles or stuff like that. And then, you know, since I'm playing a Demon Hunter, I save Darkness for the AoE, but on this pull I actually end up completely screwing the timing of it. And it managed to go away right when the AoE comes out, but that's basically it. Save Bloodlust for 50%, so we actually have Bloodlust still on cooldown, but even if you had it on pull, it's better to save it for the second phase, because the mechanics, you do a huge AoE damage, which, you know, you giving your healer Bloodlust for that is definitely really helpful. And just, you know, every mechanic just goes a little bit faster, he does a little bit more damage, so not really much to do here in the first. And again, you know, as I said before, he's not really, oh, here I go, putting down the Darkness, because I got baited out, and here comes the big AoE, and my Darkness is gonna run out, and you're gonna see how much damage people take. Which is not a lot, because our healer is completely just pumping. Like, this guy is amazing. And this is what you see when you push into like higher hierarchies. You get like just better and better people, and specifically healers are a game changer if you get a good healer. Like, it is the difference are like night and day on like what mechanics you can like live and what mechanics you can't. But yeah, else there's not really much to it. Dodge swirlies, make sure that your team doesn't get feared as much as you can, and then just kill the boss. And yeah, there you go. That's actually my first Portal. I haven't been able to play since now, so I'm happy to like go into this weekend. I'm almost at 2500, which is great. I think it's really funny that I'm like already hitting it, like, you know, a few weeks into it, but amazing. I can't wait to like push out this weekend and like see where I end up on Monday. And yeah, so thank you so much for watching the video, and see you guys in the next one. Take care, everyone.